best approach in difficult situations, like the one you are probably finding yourself in at the present moment, is to be true to yourself. That in itself is a task, because we come up against the concept when we're being true to ourselves of, am I being true to myself or am I being selfish? Now there's a difference between being selfish and taking care of yourself so that you can equally take care of others. After all, if you're not nourished, then your capacity to be there as a support for other people, that's equally going to falter. But what then do you do when you're doing your best to be true to yourself, but nothing seems to work out? Okay, well, let's come to an understanding of that, right? Now, first of all, just because you're being true to yourself, that doesn't mean that there's an unequivocal guarantee that things are going to work out in your favor. Quite often, we find that they don't. Or do they? Or do they? Because even if things are not working out to your favor, in the midst of it all, in the thick of all the difficulty, at the very least, you're being true to yourself. Now, as the Sun conjuncts Saturn in Purva Ashadha nakshatra, which is going to last from the 24th of December 2018 until the 6th of January 2019, you're likely going to find yourself in a situation where you're just trying to honor what you feel, pardon me, is best by you, so that you can honor the needs of someone else or even a particular situation. Then when things don't go your way, the temptation surfaces to try to be something that you're not, right? At the root of it, you're only going to fail at that. You're only going to fail at that because at the end of the day, you have no choice but to be who you are, even if things aren't working out. So what do I mean by being somebody that you're not, right? Well, that thing that we go into where we go, okay, well, this isn't working, but maybe if I try this approach that really is not where my heart is and is something I've never done before, and I'd really have to kind of try to convince myself that I'm a different type of person than I am, or if I try to do that, it's going to go against all my ethics and all my beliefs that brought me to this moment in time. Sometimes we're meant to change our beliefs, but that's not really necessarily the case at this particular moment in time. That is, unless you think that you're the greatest person in the universe and all people should fall at your feet and bow down to you, then maybe it's time to change your view or change your belief. Now, in this situation, it can be difficult, right? Because your sense of authority feels threatened. You think that you know the best thing to do in order to create a positive change, in order to create a positive shift, but your sense of authority gets threatened. You're determined, but things don't work out right. And then you begin to take it personally. You begin to feel somehow like you're not perfect enough. You're not good enough, right? Sometimes even when we succeed at what it is that we're trying to achieve, we still don't feel satisfied. Now, we both know that that's not the case with this particular instance, right? Question that for yourself. If you achieved your goal, what then? Will you then set the bar higher for yourself? Or will you accept that, okay, that worked out okay? Maybe what you're being asked to look at in this situation is how attached to a particular outcome you are. How driven you are for things to work out in a certain way that ultimately they may not work out. They may not work out that way. So at the end of the day, what you have to question is, are you willing to accept some things that you may, like, I want to say on the face of it, not be willing to accept, right? So on the face of things, right? On the face of things, it's very difficult to accept certain situations. especially when you have a specific outcome in mind and you're beginning to recognize that maybe that outcome is not going to work out, or maybe that outcome isn't even the best. Well, at first, the initial reaction is going to be no, I have to continue to be determined. After all, I have to be true to myself in this situation, and I have to break through this resistance, and I have to achieve, and I have to maintain determination, because several times during this process I've given up, I've let go of my discipline because I'm like, having a hard time breaking through the resistance that I'm facing, and that doesn't feel right to me, and I'm trying to be true to myself, and that doesn't feel right to me, and goodness knows I can't be somebody that I'm not, because that's not going to be right for me, but somehow I feel like I'm imperfect because I'm not achieving what it is that I feel like I need to achieve. Whew, that's quite a complex. That's quite a complex. But there is a sobering process that's taking place. Now, I'm not saying you're drinking or you're drunk, but maybe you are. Maybe you're high on attachment. Maybe you're drunk with ego, not in terms of being egotistical, but in terms of ego attachment to the way you think that something needs to work out. But maybe, just maybe, if you looked at how, perhaps, the universe isn't conspiring against you, but instead how the universe is trying to steer things in your favor, but perhaps you don't really see how something not going in a specific way can actually be beneficial for you. But if you give it time, if you look beneath the surface, because at the moment, you're kind of just scraping the surface of a situation. If you go beneath the surface, if you look deeper, if you let that process take the time that it needs to take, and it won't be quick. It won't be quick. But if you face some things that perhaps you may not want to face, you'll be presented with a different solution to an old problem. And when that solution surfaces, then you'll have the strength and a greater level of determination, and yes, the discipline needed to carry your plans through to fruition. But if you could use a little bit of help with that process, I should mention that I do offer several different levels of astrological service, and we're leading up to an eclipse just around the 5th to the 6th of January. It's going to coincide with about hours before the sun's shift out of Purva Ashadha nakshatra into Uttada Ashadha nakshatra. So if you'd like a little bit of information about where the eclipse is impacting your chart, or how you can work with this transit more beneficially, please do feel free to visit my astrological services page, which is linked above. That's going to do it for this look at the Sun's conjunction with Saturn in Purva Ashadha nakshatra, which is going to take place from the 24th of December to the 6th of January 2019. Until next time, please do take the very best care of yourself. Bye now.